hacking mobile platform. In that we have the iOS. iOS is the first is the Android, and the other iOS we have for the mobile is nowadays which used is Apple iOS. So hacking Apple iOS now. Now iOS is what Apple's mobile operating system, and it is what from Apple, for Apple, and only for Apple. So which supports Apple devices such as iPhone, iPad Touch, iPad, and Apple TV. The user interface is based on the concept of direct manipulation using multi-touch gestures. So user interface is the touch interface where you can directly manipulate the icons and the configuration by using the touch interface. Now core framework for the iOS is very simple. The core iOS, the core operating system, then upon that core operating system we have core services, and then the media, that is the hardware, and then upon that core these Cocoa Touch Toolkit, UI kit, and on that we install the application. So that is what the basic the structure of the architecture of the operating system, this iOS operating system. Now iOS operating system also needs sometime jailbreaking iOS. Now jailbreaking is what is a defined as the purpose of as a process of installing and modified the set of kernel patches that allow user to run third-party application not signed by the OS vendor. Jailbreaking provides root access to the operating system and permits downloading of third-party application, themes, extensions of an iOS device. Jailbreaking removes sandbox restrictions, which enables malicious apps to access restricted mobile resources and information. Now same as the Android mobiles or Android operating system, this iOS operating system also use the sandboxing. That means it uses the sandbox to secure the operating system with the application we install. So whatever the application we install into these operating systems, whether it is Android or iOS, they run these application under the sandbox and only provide the resources which is needed to run that application. Now the main core application, core operating system files and core extensions, core system files will not be accessible by that applications. Now simple, if we have enabled the root access by doing the jailbreaking in Android iOS, Apple iOS, and in Android iOS we call it rooting. So by doing this rooting or jailbreaking, what we do actually, we provide the root access to the operating system, and by getting the root access, what the user can do, it is having a benefit in Apple iOS that it can install the third party application, themes, and extensions. Now because the Apple iOS is completely proprietary, that means only Apple's provided, only the OS vendor provided applications runs on this operating system. It cannot have the third party applications. It cannot use the Apple iOS. On an Apple iOS we can't install or use those third party applications. Only we have to purchase those applications from the Apple iOS marketplace or the App Store. Now by using this jailbreaking, what the user get to use the third party applications also. But the problem with this is that when you do the jailbreaking, it removes the sandbox restrictions, and that means what, the applications can get the access of the system files. Now jailbreaking, like a rooting in Android, also comes with many security and other risks to your device, including what, it voids your phone's warranty. So first the warranty will gone, then poor performance also, then malware infections, the chances for the malware infection increases, and because of those malwares our device can go into break, and it can break the device also. So when suppose the destructive viruses comes, so they do what, they destroy the device hardware, and the hardware goes bricked, and our device will be completely unusable. So with some benefits in Apple iOS, by doing this jailbreaking, you have lots of disbenefits also. Drawbacks. So types of jailbreaking for Android iOS are user load exploit, user land exploit, iBoot exploit, and boot ROM exploit. First, user land jailbreak allows user level access but do not allow the iBoot level access. So user land exploit means only allow the user level access, but for the boot level access it will not allow. Then iBoot exploit means an iBoot jailbreak allows user level access and iBoot level access also. That means the time the machine boots, it provides those level of access. And boot ROM exploit means this boot ROM exploits allow user level and iBoot level access complete. This is means a complete exploit. Now what are the techniques we have for jailbreaking for iOS, Apple iOS? First, untethered jailbreaking. In this, untethered jailbreak has the property that if the user turns the device off and back on, the device will start up completely and the kernel will be patched without the help of the computer. In other words, it will be jailbroken after each reboot. So after each reboot, it is going to be jailbreak. Then semi-tethered jailbreaking. A semi-tethered has the property that if the user turns the device off and back on, the device will start up completely and it will no longer have a patched kernel. But it will still be usable for normal functions. To use jailbroken add-ons, the user need to start the device with the help of the jailbreaking tools. Then tethered jailbreaking means with a tethered jailbreak, if the device starts back up on its own, it will no longer have a patched kernel, and it may get stuck in a partially started state. In order for it to start completely and with the patched kernel, it essentially must be jailbroken with a computer using the boot tethered features of the jailbreaking tool each time it is turned on. So very simple. Untethered means it will boot whenever your system boot, it will completely boot with the patched kernel. It will completely boot with the jailbroken device. That means complete jailbroken. Here in semi-tethered, in this it will do what? It will jailbroke only when it starts with the tools. If it is not started with the tool, if the machine device booted normally, then it will run normally without without the patched kernel. And then if you want to have a patched kernel, if you want to break it, then you have to boot your device through the jailbreaking tool again. In this tethered here, what happened? It will no longer have patched kernel, but it may have a partial state of the booting, like it have some partial state, like it is not totally jailbroken. Now in this kind of state, sometime device may not start properly, so you have to do this. You have to connect your device to the computer, and then you have to reboot or re-jailbreak again. Now for jailbreaking iOS 11.2.1 using Kydia. So Kydia is a tool which you can use to do the jailbreaking for the Apple iOS. This Kydia is a software application for iOS that enables a user to find and install software packages, including app, interface, customization, and system extensions on a jailbroken iPhone, iPad Touch, or iPod. The steps for this using this Kydia: first, on your iPhone or pad, open the Safari browser. From the address bar, go to the kydiaios.com. Locate the up arrow on the web page, top right on that iPad, bottom center on the iPhone screen, and tap on it. Then when the new page loads, tap add to home screen. Now type Kydia into the box for naming the app icon. Tap the and close the Safari. Then look on your home screen for the Kydia icon. Now the Kydia is installed. Then you can use that tool to install those applications, third-party applications and all that. Now jailbreaking of the iOS using Pangu and Zong. This is one of the tool. This is one more tool we have, and this Pangu and Zong is a simple application which allow you to install jailbreak apps for iOS 11 and 12, 10 and also the latest versions. This Pangu and Zong is online jailbreaking app installer for latest iOS versions. And step for this is first you have to download the Z Jailbreak app and open the Z Jailbreak app. Go to the Pangu 8 Azong app available under the jailbreak. Clicking on it, now click on the install and then click allow to pop-up message, and then click on install from the pop-up screen and enter your regular password. Now tap on install done. Install and done the installation. It will begin to install Azong app to your device. Once you complete the installation process, and this Azong icon will be appeared on your home screen. Then steps to install the Kydia jailbreak apps in your. So for that, open the Pango Azong app, tap to browse the jailbreak app list. To apply the app code, click on the app manager, then you need to click the generate code in Kydia light icon. Now go back to Azong app and paste the code and tap on install. Now click allow to pop-up message and tap on install. It will ask for passcode, enter it, and then they tap on the install and done. Finally, you can see the jailbreak app icon on your home screen. Now there are the other tools we have for jailbreaking these iOS devices, like Keen Jailbreak. This Keen Jailbreak is an unofficial semi-tethered tool that was released for the iOS version 11 beta version, and is compatible to jailbreak following devices. These are the following devices are there, and it also supports the new devices like iPhone 7, 7 Plus, 6s, 6s Plus, and iPhone SE, iPhone 5s, iPod Touch 6G, Mini, iPad Mini, and iPad Air Pro also. Now, just like the Keen jailbreak, we have the other tools also: Yalu, Leonzi, Pongo jailbreak, Tig, Pongo 9. These are all jailbreaking tools we have for iOS, Apple iOS operating system. Now we have iOS Trojans also. iOS Trojans such as Ace Deceiver. This Trojan exploits design flaws in Apple's DRM. This is digital rights management mechanism, and fair play man in the middle technique is used to spread pirated iOS apps. Then Spy Mobile like Spy or Mobile Spy, iPhone OS for Mobile Spy for iPhone OS. This is a malware allows an attacker to eavesdrops all incoming and outgoing calls, SMS, URLs, and GPS positions, and logged to a remote server on the infected iOS device. Installation of these spyware requires a jailbroken iPhone. Aliases for this spyware is spyware win CE Bob Smiley.a, SPR Mobile Spy, SPR Retina XA. These are the licenses for these software, these Trojans. There are some other Trojans also: Dual Toy Trojan, Key Rider, Xcode Ghost, Ad Thief, SPED, Trap SMS. These are some of the Trojans for iOS we have. Now, what is the guideline for securing iOS devices? First, use the passcode lock feature for locking the phone. Don't leave your phone. Use the passcode to lock your phone always. Then disable JavaScript and add-ons from web browser. In the web browser, we should disable the JavaScript because it will run some script in the background, and should be disable the add-ons from the web browsers. Then use iOS devices on a secured and protected Wi-Fi network. Then do not store sensitive data on client-side database. Do not access web services on a compromised network. Do not open links or attachments from unknown sources. Deploy only trusted third-party application on iOS devices. Don't just use any third-party application. Change default password of iPhone's root password from Alpine. So this is the default root password. You should change it from the default to something else. Then the guideline for securing iOS devices, that is, do not jailbreak your device if used within enterprise environment. That means if you're a home user, then you can root your device, you can compromise, you can afford to be compromised. But if your devices are used for the enterprise network, enterprise environment, that means you are not able to afford it. Like, you can lose your enterprise data. So you should not root those devices which you are using for your enterprise environment. Configure Find My iPhone and utilize it to wipe a lost or stolen device. So anytime if you lost your device, you should configure it to wipe out all the data. Enable jailbreak detection and also protect access to iTunes, Apple ID and Google accounts which are tied to sensitive data. Then disable iCloud services so that sensitive enterprise data is not backed up to the cloud. Note that cloud services can back up documents, account information, settings and messages. Now that means what, if your device is used into the enterprise environment, that means it is having your enterprise information, enterprise document, account settings, informations of your enterprise level, sensitive information. It could be a sensitive information of your enterprise. So you should disable the iCloud service because it automatically download or upload your documents and account information and settings and messages into the cloud. So you should not do that. You should not upload your environment, your enterprise data into the iCloud because it is not secure. Along with this, follow the common security guidelines for all the mobile devices outlined in the later slide. Like previously what we have seen, all the mobile device security features for the Android also and iOS both are same, like we should not do all those things. Then for iOS devices also we have some tracking tools like Find My iPhone, iHome, Gadget Talk, iOS Security, iLocalize. So these are also, we have some of these tracking tools for iPhone, just like we have for the Android devices, we have for the iOS devices also. Now mobile spyware. Just like for the desktop or the laptop spyware, we have the spyware for mobile devices also. Now this mobile spyware is a software. These are all software tools that gives you full access to monitor a victim's phone. So it secretly records all activity on the phone, such as internet use, text messages, phone calls and etc. and all that. Then you can access the logged information via the software main website. Or you can also get this tracking information through SMS or email. So very simple, these spywares, what the attackers do, somehow they do what, they will send you the tool, the spyware tool, the application. It is the form of application and it will ask you to install that application in your mobile. Now it do the social engineering to do this, and it will, when you install that application, those malicious application into your mobile, then that application will start sending the information to the online server, and from that online server the attacker can get your information. It can see all of your text messages, phone calls and other information of your phone. So these mobile spywares, we have mSpy, we have Stealth Genie. These are the mobile spywares we have. Now these mobile spywares we use, they will not give you a free access, because these are spywares. These are genuine spywares actually. These are used to do what? To monitor the employees, to monitor the family member. This is used for that. Now they will give you what? You have to pay the monthly or yearly charge for this, because generally these are genuine spyware. But the attacker can also create its own spyware to work on it. Just like the mSpy we have, Stealth Genie we have the other spyware tools also, like Mobile Spy, Spybubble, Mobi Stealth and all these spywares. Now how they work? They work simply, they will give you what, when you go to their site, they will give you a tool, a small APK for the Android devices, and for iOS devices it will give you the small application, and that application we have to install into the victim's machine without knowing of that victim. Now once we install this, we have to configure it one time. That means we just have to first time it will show you the icon on that on the mobile. Now when you open that icon, it will ask you to configure the icon, configure the application. Like you have to provide your email address where you want to get the information, and then it will say to run. It will ask you to run. Now when you run it, then it will disappear from the mobile. Now after running, it will not show in the mobile. That icon will also remove. That icon will also disappear. Now it will run in a background as a service. You can still see that under your mobile as a service. Now if the user knows, then it can go to the services running and then it can disable the service. But otherwise, if the user don't know, then it still runs on the background. It runs as a service and it will collect all the information from the mobile device and send it to the server, send it to its own server. Now attacker or us, we have to get that information from that server, and for that we have to log into that server. And for logging into that server, we need to have a username and password. For example, so just like this is spyware, this is mobile spy. Now mobile spy, we go to the official site for the mobile spy. Now here what we have to do, it is saying try now, but first we have to do what? We have to install the spyware there into the Trojan, into the mobile device. Now what we can get the call logs, text messages, GPS tracking also, web history, other datas, media files, social media, online messaging also. Now it is saying here that try now or you check the demo. So try now or you see the demo. Now demo, that means it will show you how it is going to show you the information about the mobile. So it is going to show you like this. Now once you have installed the Trojan install the spyware into the device, into the mobile device, you can see that device like this. You can go to the dashboard. On dashboard you can see the information like this: target device activity, what the target device is doing, like browsing, GPS location, texting and WhatsApp. Then you can see this. Then you can see the information, location information here. Then you can see what other informations here. You can see the mobile number, build, version, the wireless status and all that. IEMI number, IMEI number, you can also see the IMEI number also, operator name also. Then in this side you can see what? You can see the contacts like this. You can see the text messages like this. You can see whatever the text messages the person is sending and receiving. You can see the details of calls, what are the missed calls, incoming calls, what is the timing and who was it, what was the number. You can see the events if it has set it by this person. You can see the photos, you can see the videos, you can see the Wi-Fi networks around it. Then you can see the keyword tracking. You can do the key loggers also. You can enable the key logger. You can see the key logging. You can check the installed apps. Then you can check the GPS location. You can see the geofencing. You can see the WhatsApp messages. You can see the Skype. You can see Telegram messages. You can see Viber messages, Tinder messages, Line, Snapchat, Hangouts, Skype, Instagram, Facebook. A screen recorder, you can record the screen also. You can see the browsing history, bookmark, email. You can block the Wi-Fi also. You can block any website for that person. You can block some applications also. Now all of these you can do. First you have to be premium user. If you can see here, it is for the premium user. For this, when you go for try now, then it will go and say create your account first, and then it will give you the small exe for the small application for your Android or mobile Android or iOS device. And then from there you have the iPhone without jailbreak, iPhone tracking, Android tracking, and again we come back to here. So first you have to install this the kit, the application on the phone, and then you can get the information of it. Then you have this Stealth Genie also. So what it is saying in the steps, it is saying what? For the Stealth Genie, it is saying the steps here: check the compatibility, the first thing you need to do is make sure that Stealth Genie works on the phone you want to monitor. It works on most Android and BlackBerry and iOS devices. Then what you have to do, download and install. So once you know that the phone you have want monitored compatible with this, you can simply complete the process of purchase. So first you have to purchase it, and after buying a Stealth Genie subscription, you will need to install it into the phone you want to monitor. So first you have to install that. Now how you will do that? Now you can use a social engineering technique. You can send these iPhone, Android application to that user, and trick that user to install that. Now after that you can see the data online. So whether you use Stealth Genie, Spy, in any case, what you have to do is to first you have to install the server in that those devices, and then you can connect them, you can use them you can see the data online. And for that you have to get some subscription, because these services are coming from server. So because of that we have to get the purchase. And otherwise we have some other also. You should try all of these. So these one of these, some of them give some trial period also. Some of them gives the trial period like for 1 week or 2 week, and then after that they will charge. So for the 1 week or 2 week you can see this how it works also. So you can see that how it works for 1 or 2 week. What happened now, why they are chargeable and how they work? So very simple. First, suppose this is the device we want to monitor. So what we have to do, we have to get the small APK file which is given by those site, and then what we have to install it on this device, in the mobile device. In the mobile device it will show the icon first, and when first time we have to execute it. So first time you run this, and when you run this it will ask you to run as a service. It will allow the permissions, it will ask you for the permissions. You have to give the permission, and then what you have to provide your email address also where you want to get the information. And then after that, finishing the setup, it will do what? It will disappear. It will disappear from here. It will run in a background as a service. Now what it do, it will collect all the information from the device and forward it to the server. Now the server of that particular tool, for example mSpy or Stealth Genie, now it will forward and upload those information onto the server. Now this server is handled by those companies, those providers like the mSpy or Stealth Genie or the other providers. Now we need to get the information. So what we have to do, we have to log into those servers. Now for that login, they will ask you for subscription. Now when you are subscribed, when you are registered user, you will be given to that username and password, and when you log in your account, then you will see the information which is collected by that server, and you will see that information in your device, in your desktop, in your laptop. Now for that, because they are managing these servers, because of that they will charge. So these are the mobile spywares, and this is how they work. Now we have mobile device management. Mobile device management, that is, we can also say MDM. This mobile device management provides platform for over the air or wired distribution of application and data and configuration settings for all types of mobile devices, including mobile phones, smartphones, tablet computers, etc. Now MDM helps in implementing enterprise-wide policies to reduce support cost, business discontinuity, and security risk. It helps system administrator to deploy and manage software application access all enterprise enterprise mobile devices to secure, monitor, manage, and support mobile devices. It can be used and managed both company-owned and employee-owned devices across the enterprise. Employee-owned, that means it is using bring your own device policy, BYOD. Now this is for the enterprise network. When you have an enterprise network, in the enterprise these mobile devices are also essential, and these mobile devices are also used for the enterprise works. So the administrator can manage the devices from these mobile device management tools single-handedly, like from the company owned devices that is owned by the company, which is given to the employee, or the employee can also bring the devices, like the company is giving the laptop that is also mobile. That means user can move with that device. Then also user come with their own mobile phones, their own Android or iOS devices. So this MDM helps the administrator to manage all the devices in the enterprise network and secure their devices. Now we have these MDM solutions. We have these devices like MAAS 360 device management tool. This MAAS 360 supports the complete mobile device management life cycle for smartphone and tablet, including iPhone, iPad, Android, Windows Phone, BlackBerry, and Kindle Fire. As a fully integrated cloud platform, this MAAS 360 simplifies the MDM with rapid deployment and comprehensive visibility and control that spans across mobile devices, applications, and document. So this is one of the application for the MDM, where you can manage all the other devices in a single interface. Then the other solutions are these Zen Mobile Absolute Manage MDM, SAP Afaria Device Management Center, AirWatch, Media Contact, Mobi Control, Tonji MDM, Mobile Iron, Good Mobile Manager. So these are all are the solution for the MDM device, MDM, and this mobile device management. Now, what is the meaning of this BYOD? BYOD, that means bring your own device. Now, bring your own device refers to the policy allowing an employees to bring their personal devices such as laptops, smartphones, and tablets at workplace and use them for accessing organizations' resources as per their access privilege. This BYOD policy allows employees to use the devices that they are comfortable with and best fit his or her preferences and work purposes. So BYOD benefits. What is it benefit? What are the benefit of this? Increased productivity, because the user is more used to with their own devices. So employee satisfaction also, work flexibility, and lower cost. Lower cost for the organization also, because organization don't have to provide the devices to the employees, because employees are getting their devices their own devices to the organizations. So it will be also lower cost for the organizations. Now, what are the risks now? Because the employee is getting their own devices, it can be risky. It can be risky for the organization because of sharing the confidential data on unsecured network. Because the user is getting their own devices and using the organization data on their devices, it can be a chances of the sharing the confidential data on the unsecured network. They can also transfer the data on unsecured network, and that can lead to the data leakage and endpoint security issues. Then improperly disposing devices. Disposing devices, that means user mobile is now not working, or maybe he's wanted to get a new device, so he just sell or throw those devices or give those devices to someone else. Now that device may have some sensitive information, some data which is related to the organization, and it can be also it is like improper disposing the device, and then without wiping out the data. Support of many different devices, then maximum personal and private data is there, then lost or stolen devices can be a problem. Lack of awareness, because these users are not aware what they are having, so they can do the careless things. Ability to bypass organizations network policy rules also, and infrastructure issues can be possible. Then also the disgruntled employees can make these issue worst. What can they do? Because they are not happy with the organization, they can leak the information, they can sell the information to the other organization or some rivals. So what is the BYOD policy implementation? This first define your requirement, then select the device of your choice and build a technology portfolio. Then develop the policy, security and support. This is the implementation. This is the policy implementation for using the BYOD. That means if the user is bringing their own devices, so we should have to make sure that the policy must be there and must be implemented. And the security guideline for the administrators. So the administrators has to follow these guidelines, like source organizations data center with multi-layered protection system. Then educate your employees about the BYOD policy. This is very important to educate the employees, otherwise they will do the careless things. Make it clear who owns what apps and data, and use the encrypted channel for data transfer. Make it clear what apps will be allowed or banned. Then control access based on the need to know. Then do not allow jailbroken and rooted devices. Apply session authentication and timeout policy on access gateways. Then this is the guideline for the employees. Use encryption mechanism to store the data. Maintain a clear separation between the business and personal data. Register devices with a remote locate and wipe facility if company policy permits. Regularly update your device with latest OS and patches, and use antivirus and data loss protection solutions also. Now this is a general guideline for mobile platform security. General guideline for all. Do not load too many applications and avoid auto upload of photos to social network. Securely wipe or delete the data when you disposing of the device. Then perform a security assessment and the application architecture. Ensure that your Bluetooth is off. By default, turn it on whenever it is necessary. Maintain configuration control and management. Do not share the information within GPS enabled apps unless they are necessary. Install applications from trusted application stores and never connect two separate networks such as Wi-Fi and Bluetooth simultaneously. Then first use the passcode to secure your device, like configure the strong passcode with maximum possible length to gain access to your mobile device. Set an ideal timeout to automatically lock the phone when not to use, and enable lockout wipe feature after a certain number of attempts. Then update OS and apps regularly. Enable remote management in an enterprise environment. Use mobile device management software to secure, monitor, manage and support mobile devices deploy across the organization. Then do not allow rooting or jailbreaking. Ensure your MDM solutions prevent or detect rooting and jailbreaking, including this clause in your mobile security policy. And use remote wipe services. Use remote wipe services such as Remote Wipe Android and Find My iPhone or Find My Phone Apple iOS to locate your device should it be lost or stolen. Encrypt the storage. That means if supported, configure your mobile device to encrypt its storage with hardware encryption. Now these are all guidelines for the mobile security for your enterprise network. Then other guidelines are like perform periodic backup and synchronization. That means use a secure over-the-air backup and restore tool that performs periodic background synchronization. Then filter email forwarding barriers. That means filter emails by configuring server-side setting of the corporate emails and email system, and use the commercial data loss prevention filters. Application, configure the application certification rules. That means allow only signed application to install or execute. Harden the browser permission rules. That means harden browser permission rule according to company's security policies to avoid attack. And design and implement mobile device policies. That is set the policy that defines the accepted usage, levels of support and type of information access permitted on different devices. That means set required passcode to immediately thwart passcode guessing, set erase data on, data is on. Like suppose someone try to guess your password multiple times, that means someone is attacking it, someone trying it, so wipe the data policy must be there. Enable auto lock and set to 1 minute, encrypt the device and backup, configure wireless to ask to join network, perform regular software maintenance, prohibit user USB key, encrypts backup, prevent local caching of email, control the location of backups, sandbox application and data, and control devices and applications. Then disable the collection of diagnosed and users data under setting general about. Then apply the software updates when new releases are available. Limit login data stored in on device. Use device encryption and patch application. Manage operating system operating environment. Manage application environment. Press the power button to lock the device whenever it is not in use. Verify the location of printer before printing sensitive documents. Utilize passcode lock to protect access to the mobile device. Consider the 8-character non-simple passcode. And report a lost or stolen device to IT so they can disable the certificates and other access method associated with that device. Then consider the privacy implication for enabling location-based services and limit users to trusted application. Keep sensitive data off shared mobile devices. If enterprise information is locally stored on your device, it is recommended that this device not be openly shared. And ask your IT department how to use Citrix technologies to keep data in the data center and keep personal devices personal. If you must have sensitive data on a mobile device, use Follow Me Data and Share File as an enterprise managed solution. In Android, backup to Google account so that sensitive enterprise data is not backed up to the cloud. Then configure location services to disable location tracking for application that you do not want to know your location information. Then configure notification to disable the ability to view notification while the device is locked for application that could display sensitive data. Configure autofill names and password for browser to reduce password loss via shoulder surfing and surveillance if desired and allowed by enterprise policy. And this is mobile device security guidelines for administrator. That means publish an enterprise policy that specifies the acceptable uses of consumer grade devices and bring your own device in the enterprise. Publish an enterprise policy for cloud. Enable security measures such as antivirus to protect the data in the data center. Implement policy that specifies what levels of application and data access are allowed on consumer grade devices and which are prohibited, and specify the session timeout through the access gateway, and specify whether the domain password can be cached on the device or whether user must enter it every time they request the access. Determine the allowed access gateway authentication methods from the following. That means for non-authentications, for domain only, for SMS authentication, for RSS secure ID only, and domain plus RSS secure ID. Then SMS phishing countermeasures. For SMS phishing, never reply to suspicious SMS without verifying the source. Do not click on any link included in the SMS and never reply to a SMS that required personal and financial information from you. Then also review the bank policy on sending SMS. That means when and how our bank will send the SMS. Only that case. So we have to review our bank's policy that when they are sending the SMS and what information they can ask on SMS. Then enable the block text from the internet features from your provider. Never reply to SMSs which urging you to respond quickly. Never call a number left in SMS. And these are some mobile protection tools such as BullGuard Mobile Security. It delivers the complete mobile phone antivirus against all mobile phone viruses. It locks, locates and wipes device remotely if lost or stolen. It blocks unwanted calls and SMS messages also. Then we have mobile protection tools such as Lockout. The Lockout protect your phone from mobile threats. Mobile threats like security and privacy. It helps avoid risky behavior like connecting to an unsecured Wi-Fi network, downloading a malicious app. It do the backup also, provides safe and secure and seamless backup of your mobile data automatically over the air. Missing devices, that means it helps you find your phone if it is lost or stolen. Management allow you to remotely manage your phone also. Then we have mobile protection tools such as vCell ID, that is, it provides secure and easy to use encrypted storage for personal data, personally identifiable information, pins, credit and loyalty cards, notes and other information. And this also allows you to store your websites, usernames and passwords and quickly log on to your favorite websites through your mobile device. Then same as that, we have these other tools like ZIPS. This IPS employs machine learning to detect abnormal behavior. Just like the IDS, we have this IPS for the mobile. And then what it do, it detect the abnormal behavior and then it isolate your device before any exploit can take place. ZIPS is equipped with a behavior analysis engine to automatically detect and block malicious threats by monitoring how they change the characteristic of the mobile device. It scans all mobile applications and browsers to enhance the security of user device and keeps your whole organization safe from man-in-the-middle IP4 and even IPv6 attacks also. Then these are some other mobile protection tools and antiviruses. Basically we have the McAfee mobile security, Kaspersky Android security for internet security for Android. We have AVG antivirus, Avast, Norton, ESET, Bitdefender, Komodo, Trend Micro, F-Secure. So these are also, we have the protection tools, or we can say the antiviruses for our mobile devices. Then also we have the mobile anti-spywares such as C-Core Security Anti-Spyware Mobile, Malwarebyte Anti-Malware Mobile also, that is also we can use for the anti-spyware as anti-spyware, also for the security of our mobile. So what is the problem of these mobile devices? First, someone can send a SMS link and SMS or mails to fool or trick the user. And for the installing the trojans, for installing the spywares, and how they install the trojans and spyware, but just tricking the user by using the social networking, social engineering, sending the Trojan APK, Trojan application to install. Now once that is installed, then it will get the access of that user, that mobile device from the remote location. It will open the back door and attacker can get the access of that mobile devices. So just like that, I will do what? I will show you. I have an Android device here. This is my Android device available here. Now I will do what? I will send a backdoor or malicious application here, and I can get the access of this device from my Kali Linux. So what I will do, I will go to Kali Linux and I will create the malicious link here, malicious application there. Now this is the Kali Linux we have. Now what I will do here, I will create a backdoor application from here, and then I will send it to that user, that mobile device, and that device, when it install that, it will open the backdoor which we can access it from here. Now for creating that malicious APK or application, we can use the same technique which we have used for the normal desktop machines. And what we use here, we can use MSF Venom. We can use MSF Venom to create the malicious APK also. So I will go here first in the browser, in a command prompt. Now in MSF Venom, we have lots of different malicious different payloads we have. So when you check, we can give the command ls L, and then we give the payload, like what payload you want to see, what you want to see. Suppose, let's say, if I want to see all, so it will show me all the available payloads and exploits we have with this MSF Venom. It is going to load all, so it shows all those things, like it has shown the transform format, it has shown the executable format, encryption formats, then it is showing that architecture formats, it is showing that the platforms it supports, the NOPs it has, and then also it has these payloads, encoders, and the payloads it has. Now what I want to see, I want to see only payloads. So what I will do, I will give -L, and I want to see only payloads. These are all payloads we have. Now these are all, like, this is for Windows, these are all for Windows payload. Now I just want to see the payload for Android. So what I will do, I will do the filtering here, and I will give a pipe here, and I will grab only Android. Like, I want to see only where it is written Android. So it is showing here that we have these payloads for Androids, and that is for Meterpreter. So I'm going to use this one, Android Meterpreter for reverse TCP, which gives me the reverse connection. So I will use a command MSF Venom to create the payload. So for P, for mentioning the payload, so this is the payload which I'm going to use. Then I will mention the platform, and the platform is Android, Android, and the architecture, A for architecture. So for Android, the architectures are Dalvik architecture, and then I will mention the local host. So for local host, I'm going to mention my own IP. So when it is connecting reverse, when it do the reverse connection, so it will do it for my machine, it will try to connect my machine, and then it is going to be raw file. And what file I am going to create, so I'm going to create on the desktop, I am going to name it as let's say it is a backdoor.apk. Now remember, for Android the applications are .apk file. So I am going to create the .apk file with the name of backdoor. We can give any name, and it is going to use this payload, and it is mentioning these platform architecture, and I am only mentioning my local IP, my Kali Linux IP, so that when the application is installed in the Android device, it will try to connect this Linux, this Kali machine. Now I will run it. And it is going to take a little time to create it, and then it will give us a payload. Now it is saying that no encoder is specified because we have not mentioned any encoder. outputting the raw payload file. The payload file size is this. Now where it is gone, so it gone on to desktop, so I used a desktop here, so it is on the desktop right now, and we can see this backdoor.apk. Now what we have to do, we have to just forward this apk file to the user, to the device user, to the Android user, and just we have to trick that user to install this application. Now when the user install this application, we are ready to connect that application, connect that Meterpreter payload. So what we have to do, we have to just forward this application. Now how we can do that? We can send it as a email attachment. We can send the user email attachment. Now when the victim install that application, when the user download the attachment and install, it will be attacked. It will be attacked and it will open the back door, and we can connect that Android device from here, from our Kali Linux. So we can send it through the attachment. We can do one more thing. We can upload this on our own server and then send the link to the user, and trick the user to click on that link, download the application, install the application. So we have to use a social engineering technique to download, to send and install this application to the victim machine. Now what I will do here, I will just copy this application into my web server database directory, that is var www html. I have a directory called app. So under this I will copy this application. So I am just copying this from the desktop. I am just copying it into the my web server application directory, so that it can be accessible through the web browser, and it can be accessible on that Android mobile or Android device. So now I can see that it is under var www.html, and under that I have the app directory, and I can see there is a file backdoor. Now what I will do, I will start my service, web service. So that anyone can access my web service, my web service, and can download the application. Now I will go to that Android device and I will connect this Linux Kali machine through the web browser and open that link and open that app directory, and from that app directory I will try to download that backdoor file. Now this is our Android device. Now first I will check the connectivity. Now in the Android device also we have this application called Terminal in Emulator, and this one is actually give you the command prompt in your Android device, just like the Linux command prompt. I will try to ping that Kali Linux to check the connectivity. Okay, it is getting the reply, that means it is connected. So I close that. Now I'll go to the browser. So in my Android device, when I go to the browser, I will try to connect the Kali Linux. Okay. So here I will give the URL for that app, Kali Linux. Okay, so I go to the URL of the Kali Linux and the app directory. Under the app directory, I see this backdoor.apk. Now what this client has to do, now what we have done, we have just shared it directly from the Kali Linux and we are downloading and installing it here directly. But basically what the attacker do use the social engineering technique to trick the user to download and install this. Now when the user is installing this backdoor application here in their Android mobile, so before that the attacker must be ready for it. So what the attacker will do, attacker will be ready with its MetaRepeater console to detect this payload. So we'll go to the Kali and we'll make sure that it is ready to connect this. And under the Kali Linux, I will run the MSF console here so that I can detect and connect that payload when it was executed or when it is executed. Okay, now here I will use exploit as a monthly handler so that it can handle multiple payloads. Then first I will set the payload as a Android MetaRepeater, and that is reverse TCP. Now we should check the options for this payload. So this payload says it is going to use this port. Now we have not defined the port, so it is going to use the default port, and we have to mention the local host IP. So port we have not mentioned on that payload which we created with the MSF Venom. So we will not change the port, we will just mention the local host. So I will set as a L host and this Kali Linux IP address. And then now we are ready to access that payload. So when the user executes that payload there, install the application, we are ready here for executing that. So I'm going to use it. -J for running it in background. So it is running in the background. We can see it is started in the background, and now on the Android mobile what we'll do, we will open this. It is downloaded, so I have to just open and install it. Okay, it is installed actually, and when you see this, as soon as we install this here and when we open this, we can go back to our Kali Linux. Now on the Kali Linux we can see it is one MetaRepeater session is connected here from that Android device. So session is there, it is created. So I want to connect that session. So I will mention the session number, that is 1, and we can see the MetaRepeater console here. We can check system info. It is saying that this is Android version 9 and it is based on the Kali Linux Android OS. Delvic MetaRepeater, it is running there. The name of the computer is not there. We can check the IP config, we can check the IP address of that device. It is this. We can also check we can check the PWD, where are we right now. So we are under this where it is running the exploit. This is the Metasploit which is running there. So we are under that directory. Now I want to go to SD card. So I can change into SD card, and then we will check the location, and then we can see the whole files there. This is the whole file system for that that Android device. We can check the process which is running there. These are the process, and this is the exploit process it is running. And also we can check the help, like what other commands for this Meterpreter we have. So we have the command for this Meterpreter, like we can install applications, we can do all these things with this Meterpreter. Play audio, we can check the webcam recording, we can see the screenshot, system info, shell, and all these commands which comes with this Meterpreter we can run. So what is happening here, it is basically what we have installed the malicious app there into the Android device, and we are getting the access of that Android device here from this Kali Linux. Now I want to exit from here. Then what else we can do? We can run the social engineering toolkit also to do the credential harvesting on that Android device. Credential harvesting, that means we can record the credentials of that device. What we can do, we can start this social engineering toolkit we have. So we can use this, we can do this for the social engineering attack. Like I want to do the social engineering attack, so I will press 1. Then what I can do, I can do the website attack vector. Number 2, I can do the credential harvesting attack by using number 3. Then I can do the site cloning, number 2. Then it is asking for the site which you want to clone. So I want to clone the Facebook site. Okay, sorry, I have to give the IP address here first. Okay, I will start again. Website attack vector. Then I want to do the credential harvesting for the site cloning. Here we have to mention the IP address of the Kali Linux, which is going to connect the collect the passwords, harvest the passwords. So here I will press enter directly. It is showing my own IP, and here we have to give the site address URL which you want to do the cloning. So here I want to clone this site. And now it is cloning. It is saying, do you want to attempt the disable Apache? I say yes, because our server itself running Apache. Now it is harvesting is ready, and have a victim browser to your site. Now what we have to do, we have to just forward our machine's IP address as a link to the victim. That means this Android machine's IP address as a link to that victim, saying that this is the link for the Facebook site. This is the link for the Facebook site. Now when the victim click on this link, which is the IP address of the attacker, which is the IP address of the Kali Linux, so it will see the web page of the Facebook, fake web page of the Facebook. And when it log into that fake web page, that password and username will be redirected to the attacker, to the Kali Linux. So what? It will work on Linux machine, it will work on the mobile also, just like the other desktop or laptop devices. So I'll go to the Android device. Now on this Android device, I will directly open the IP address, because it is just you have to send it through email, through the email attachment, through the any other link to fool the user, to trick the user to click on that link. I will open directly here. It is 192.168.0.123 and enter. Now what is the page it is seeing? It is showing that it is a Facebook page but it is not a Facebook page. It is actually coming from that attacker's machine at this Kali Linux machine. Now when user gives the username and password here, login credentials here, that I want to log into this account with this password for say ABC at 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9, and then when it says login, now what it will do here, it will give an error, and when the user reloads, it will redirect the user to the original site. If you see, the link is saying here, if the link is original site link, the real site, so it will be redirected to the real site, and it will be redirected to the real site, and the credentials are already cached. Now when you go to the Kali Linux, now on the Kali Linux we can see there are something is there. It is loading, it is detecting those things. Now here it has also cached the username and password for that user, which user tried to give. So first what happened here, when the user clicks on that link, it is start getting the information here, and it says the user field found, and then what, in there somewhere there is an information about the username and password. So if you search this, you will see the username and password there. And where is it? It is capturing those get and post request, and with that it captures the username and password of that user, which that user provided. After you done, you press Ctrl C and the report will be generated. You can see that here under this report here. Press to continue, 99 to exit, 99 to exit, 99 to exit. For securing our Android device, we can download different antiviruses, anti-spywares. We have Malwarebytes security also. We can install this, we can configure this to avoid to use this malicious, detect these malicious things and scan our device and protect our device and clean our device. It is downloading. Now that Malwarebytes is downloading, till then we can see the penetration steps like mobile pen testing. In Android pen testing, what we do the root an Android phone. First we should have to root it, so that we can see, we can use those different tools. Then we can try perform the DOS and DDoS attack from it. Then check for the vulnerabilities in Android browser, check for the vulnerabilities in SQLite, check for the vulnerabilities in intents, and then detect the capability leaks in Android devices. Then for iPhone pen testing, first we should check the jailbreaking the iPhone, then unlock the iPhone, then use the smart cover to bypass the passcode, hack iPhone using Metasploit, check for access point, check iOS devices data transfer on Wi-Fi network, check whether the malformed data can be sent to the device. Then the mobile pen testing toolkits. These are the toolkits we have, like ZNT. This ZNT is a comprehensive network diagnostic tool that enables complex audit and penetration tests, and it provides cloud-based reporting that walks you through simple guidelines to ensure network safety. It offers a comprehensive range of fully customizable scan to reveal everything from authentication, backdoors, and brute force attempts to database DNS and protocol specific attack, including raw access point. It produces automated network map that show any vulnerabilities of a given target. So this is the mobile tool to do the vulnerability or penetration testing. So from the mobile tool we can use the vulnerability testing or the penetration testing on the mobile devices. Then we have DEsploit also. This is also an Android network analysis and penetration suite which aims to offer an IT security expert or geeks the most complete and advanced professional toolkit to perform network security assessment on a mobile devices. The features for this is the Wi-Fi scanning and common router key cracking, deep inspection, vulnerability search, man-in-the-middle multi-protocol password sniffing, man-in-the-middle HTTPS session hijacking, and this is also again a tool for the mobile on the mobile which we can use to do the penetration testing and analyzing. Then again we have the other tool called HackCode. This is the hackers toolbox. This is the toolbox. This is called hackers toolbox and it's an application for penetesters, ethical hackers, IT administrators and cyber security professional to perform different tasks like reconnaissance, scanning and exploit, etc. These can use to do the Google hacking and Google Doc. We can use the Whois, ping and trace route, DNS lookup, MX records and DNS dig, exploit and security RSS feed also. So this is a complete tool for the hacking for the hackers, or we can say the ethical hacker, IT administrator or penetration testers to test the network, test the network and test the mobile devices also. Now this one, the Malwarebytes is installed, so I can open it. And I just have to configure it first. So I say okay, get started, give the permission for the storage. So that it can access the storage for scanning. And now it is saying that your device is safe. What I can do scan now. Scan now, or I will do scan now, and it will scan and detect any malware or any spyware will be there. So it is going to detect, and this is also you have to update every time. So update every time so that it can be updated and updated with the any new malware or viruses or threats comes. So it will keep update. Now it will take time, and after scanning it will show me that whatever we have. So this is what the mobile hacking platform we have, hacking the mobile platform we have, where we can see, we have seen like iOS, Android and the other devices, what we can how they can be hacked and how to do, what to do with to protect those devices. So scanning is complete and it detected 4 malwares here. All threats we can see here. The DroidShip is also a threat. Then this is what the main activity, this is what the backdoor tool, backdoor application we installed here. And this is one more which is under the download, DroidShip APK. So it is showing this. Now what you want to do, you want to remove, so you can remove it to clear your machine. So this kind of malware detection tool, antivirus tool can help you to protect your device.